Listen, being at home because of this whole COVID-19 business is not easy. It kind of sucks a little bit, especially if you're not prepared and especially if you don't have quality entertainment to listen to. So, hey, here's a suggestion. Hit the subscribe button and I will be pumping out as many episodes as possible on the podcast. Make sure to share it with your friends and family and drop a comment and a rating on iTunes. If you so choose to, I'd really appreciate it. Another episode coming up on the podcast. Don't forget, if you want to get a copy of The Nimble Warrior, this is the book that I wrote in order to get my ass moving better again. Literally got my ass moving again. My big gluteus maximus. If you want a copy of this book, head to thenimble.warriorbook.com and I will send it out to you. You know why? Because I've got some that I can physically send to you and mail through the mail, assuming it's still working. And it'll be at your door and I'll have it even personally signed for you. We do not have to rely on Amazon for that. So head to thenimble.warriorbook.com and I hope to get you that copy of that book as soon as possible. Today on the podcast, we've got Tristan Pelletier. He is a former CanSoft operator with CSOR. He's currently a badass real estate investor and real estate agent with Selmar Group. And we sit down and really just discuss what it is to invest and basically take the money that you've made in your military career, especially that big chunk of change that a lot of us make on tour, and turn it into something that actually works for you for the rest of your life. Great idea, and I hope you get a lot of insight into Tristan's world. So without further ado, here is Tristan Pelletier on the podcast.
Welcome to the Hard to Kill podcast, the go-to podcast for military, LEO, and EMS professionals, sharing ideas and experiences from around the world to make you hard to kill. Here's your host, Dave Morrow.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Hard to Kill podcast. Today we have Tristan Pelletier. Tristan is a RE/MAX real estate agent and former member of CSOR, and it's a pleasure to have him on today. Tristan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me on today. Looking forward to it.
Absolute pleasure, my man. So we connected again through the magic of the internet. Haven't met in person, but virtual meetups are just as good these days. And Tristan actually reached out to me, and I really appreciate you reaching out because the more people that I have, reaching out and making this podcast even better than I could have possibly imagined is just, it's so cool to hear when people are like, hey man, I love that guest that you just had on. And I'm sure you're going to be one of those guests, man. So why don't you tell the people that are listening, what your backstory is and how you got to where you are today.
All right, Dave. So I'm ex-military myself, and I always like to reach out to any type of military networks, especially post-military life. Myself, I was joined as a reservist in 2007. My original intent was to get experience to become a police officer. Honestly, right out of high school. Afghanistan was happening around that time. I did the training. I was good at the military. I liked the military. I'm a military brat myself, mom, dad, and my grandfather was military as well. Went overseas, did that whole thing, 2010 task force with the RCRs, came back, and then you're a reservist, so your contract's over. Like, what do I do next?
Unemployment.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh boy, that was crazy experience. What's next? So, a friend of mine was in CSOR as an operator. He's like, hey man, you should try it. You should just go for it, right? Got the training program from CSOR. Followed that to the T. Didn't know anything really about, being extremely fit or anything like that. But they said, hey, you have to be this fit. Here's your stats. Here's your numbers. Do this, 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 and this. I said, cool. I just followed it. Didn't think about it too much. Made it. I was super happy to join. I was fairly young. CSOR's experience for me was one of my best experiences of my life. It was one of the funnest jobs I've had. There's ups and downs, but for the individual, it was great. I was traveling basically from Ottawa to Petawawa every weekend. I have my girlfriend, now a wife, today here. We're seeing her just on the weekends. Then I decided to say, hey, I'm gonna get out and shake things up a bit. As a real estate investor, I should rewind that a bit. I bought my first place in 2010. That was a really big passion of mine outside of the military. So I kept buying real estate as I was deploying. We all know you can live pretty lean in the military, especially if you're leaving all the time. And I did that. I lived super, super lean and kept buying properties, doing that. Then one of my great friends, he said, "Hey, Tristan, you ever think of becoming a realtor?" I said, "Not really." I was sending him so much business, referrals for my military relocations. He said, "You can make a living off this." And I said, "Okay, let's go for it." Got my license while I was in the military. Almost the day I released, I got my license and just rock and rolling since 2016 as a realtor.
That's amazing. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of good stuff in there. I want to touch base on a few things. If we go back to just your preparation to
Mm-hmm.
get into CSOR, you kind of made it seem like, yeah, I just followed the plan and I got in. No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is not the, I guess, the standard or the easiest way for a lot of guys. And I'm speaking, I guess, from my perspective, because, I'm a coach. But I know that if I have an objective, especially a difficult one, like passing selection, I won't be able to just follow the plan. So obviously you've got a very strong will. So what was it specifically that you were like, how were you able to, I guess on a daily, on a weekly, just keep yourself motivated to stay on the path and keep on going? Besides the fact that obviously the main goal was to get into CSOR, how did you scale it so that, you had little wins so that you kept the motivation? Because I imagine you trained for a few months, not just a few weeks.
It was a few months. And again, this was a catch-all program. Okay. And I'll tell you right now, I was weaker on other things on game day. And because I didn't really get any tailored programs to myself, I just followed the standard one. It was hard to be motivating at that time. I was kind of back against the wall. But hindsight 2020, I think that especially when you get a little bit older or things like that, you need a little bit more motivation to stay fit, right? It's I'm experiencing that now. I just hit my 30s. It was hard at that time to stay motivated, but my life was really lean. Like I was living with my parents. I didn't have much responsibilities, right? Like I didn't have other things in my life going on. I literally just put on my gym clothes and go. But like I said, on game day, when the selection came, I felt like I was a little bit weaker on other things because, I'm a bigger guy, for example. Like I wasn't good at running. That wasn't the thing I was good at. In the progression on the months you're doing that, I was a little bit weaker on the running part than I should have been. Right? No one asked me. No one said, "Hey, Tristan, what are you good at? What are you bad at?" They said, "Here's a standard thing. Just try to follow it." Well, it worked and it doesn't. Fitness is a huge part of what we do, obviously. And I think that you really have to hone into who you are as a person and your own personal goals when it comes to fitness.
Check. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess that also plays into the fact that, you tend to always gravitate to the things that you're good at. And you have a hard time, if it's running, that's what you have a difficult time with. You're like, yeah, I'll phone it in. I'll work on the bench press, man. I love the bench press. And for me, like I love running. So, that's not an issue. I love hitting the gym and doing some bench press. But when it comes to, doing pull-ups, I hate them. Any ab work, I hate it. And so therefore for me, that's where my training, I kind of missed the mark, and that's what kind of led to my injury. And without having really understood why, but in hindsight, okay, well, I never really did any ab work. My core was like a limp noodle. Once I started working with my coach, he's like, "What's going on, man? Are you seriously this week?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Your upper body's strong, but your midsection is pretty weak." So, obviously you were able to mitigate that because you still got through. How did that translate? So that obviously you had a self-discipline there that's a bit stronger than probably most. How's that kind of translated into you being successful real estate agent?
So, fitness is your fundamental baseline for any type of success, right? So I left the military. I took it for granted in terms of, hey, every day I was putting on my vest, right? I had a 60-pound vest on, even just standing in that all day, right? Waiting for you to go shooting, you're burning calories, you're working out, you're doing all that stuff. Then I kind of just took that for granted, like I said. So when I got out of the military, I was like, okay, I need to concentrate on building my business. It's a commission-based business. You got to go all in, right? I'm an all in or all out kind of guy. Always, 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 right? So if my client hires me, I'm all in on my client, and they're with me as well. But then I let go of fitness, really. I honestly did. I say, whatever. I'm naturally fit. I'm naturally fit guy. Like, whatever. I can just keep up with it. And, little guts start coming in there and things. And then flash forward 4 years later, you're eating on the road a lot. You're doing all these things. You're busy with clients. It's a hectic business. I call my business a 48-hour schedule because clients call you, got to be on top of it, right? I used to be on call with my old job and I'm very much so on call still. So I noticed that I started losing energy. You're using your mental game. And I was just like, what's going on? And I'm just like burning out a little bit more. Right. And not being as happy. My mood wasn't as good. And I just say, hey, something's missing. So this year I really dedicated myself to just getting back into shape. Right. That was one of my big things, but I don't have a standard, like, okay, you're a salesperson, but I'm not rucking anymore. I'm not going to go back to the training program I got before. I'm not going to ruck anymore. Let's be clear. You know what I mean?
Oh, come on. It's not so bad. I just did one on Sunday. It's not so bad.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. I get it. But like, if you're training to go rucking or something like that, that's great. Obviously me, I want to have something that's overall and tailored to me, that would keep me in shape enough to have clear mind space, right? Energy levels up and, positive mental attitude. That's super important in my business. Right. So to answer your question, how did I translate out? I think, to be honest, I'm failing on the fitness part a bit more. My business is doing really, really well, but I'm just being candid, very honest here on this podcast, just to let everyone know it's an important thing that we have to maintain when we leave the military. The military, traditionally speaking, you wake up, the first thing you do, especially in battalion, you go work out, right? They tell you go to work out, stay fit. Yes, everyone's like saying, hey, yeah, sure. We do that because we have a physical job. But what are the other benefits of that we're missing out? Just the natural endorphins that are coming out of working out. Those are important to keep your mental state in check. And if you want to be an operator, if you want to be even in the military or in sales, entrepreneur, your mental state is the most important thing, right? Keep going forward. And fitness gives you that naturally, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And also when you're in there's that added bit of, well, if I'm not fit enough for a serious situation that comes up where I can't drag Buddy to, out of contact, or can't drag myself out of contact or get over that wall, there's a certain imperative there where our fitness is going to save our lives. So there's a seriousness, but once you get out, you're like, well, I really just have to go to the store and go to work. Right. So the imperative, and that's what happened to me. I'm like, well, I don't really have an imperative to be strong, do I? Like, do I have to go for? Nah, whatever. I'm just gonna, at the time when I got out, I became a high school teacher, and dad, husband. I was like, all right, I can just settle in, man. I got my nice comfy couch, right. I got my Netflix. I'm good to go. What more do I need? And like you said, I'm a naturally fit guy. What do I have to worry about?
Right.
I think I eat well. I train like maybe 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. Do a little bit of running. Don't need to worry. And then all of a sudden, boom! I wasn't taking care of myself. I was injured, and then I was just in such a pain cave. I couldn't move anymore. I was just right. It totally rocked me because I didn't know what to do, because I was like, oh, now I can't do anything because I didn't take care of myself for an extended period of time.
And at that time, how was your business doing?
Well, so the funny thing was, I wasn't even in business yet. Like, I had kind of a side hustle. It was just my regular job now. Mm-hmm. I couldn't go to work.
Right.
And so I was just, I was just crushing sick days. And then on the thing that hurt the most though was I couldn't be a dad. I was stuck. Like I was incapacitated, and I had a young son, and I couldn't be a dad. Like I couldn't feed him. I couldn't get him out of bed. I couldn't do anything. And that kind of really affected me to the point where that's where I am now, because it forced me to do something. I had to, find a coach, train my ass off, work on my weaknesses. And then I just wanted to pass that on in what I do now, which is my business, which is literally taking guys that are basically getting all the forces. Some of the guys are still in, and they're usually the hard chargers. But the guys that got out that are, our age-ish, and just they've lost that fire, and some of them have injuries. And it's just how do you get back to that point where you're like, oh, wait, I got to play a long game now. Mm-hmm. I'm not just playing, my job, it doesn't require me to be super fit. And it reminds me of that, that old Latin expression, anima sana, corpore sano, where, a sound mind in a sound body. In order to be able to do your job better on a long-term scale, you got to be fit, man, because your brain needs that level of fitness to be able to go, like you said, 48 hours, like turnaround. Like you got clients that are like, hey man, I got like $1 million house on the line here. Are you going to pull through, or else I'll find somebody else? Like it's got to be stressful, right?
And yeah, and reducing that stress, reducing that anxiety, you bottle it all up. And at the end of the day, I'm in a service-based industry, right? I serve other people. I'm always, if I'm not performing, I'm not getting paid. That's first, let's be clear on that, right? So, I never think about the paycheck. I just think about servicing that person, and the money comes with service, right? But also you have to take care of yourself. And I was giving myself to everybody else, and that's okay. Business, let's go, let's do it. But then, what happens to you if you can't take care of yourself first? And fitness now for me is getting that 1 hour, whatever, 1 hour and a half to me, and taking care of Tristan in the first place, and then going out to take care of the rest of the people in your life. And, I'm going to be a father in actually about 2 weeks.
Hey, welcome to the club, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I look back at my dad. My dad's always been super fit, right? He's honestly fitter than me right now, older guy, but he's always maintained that. Always. He's a military guy. And I remember going to skiing with him, snowboarding, whatever it is. He's always been very active. And just like you mentioned, it reminded me is, yeah, I want to be like that too with my son, daughter, whatever it's going to be. We're waiting to find out. And it's just too early to give it up. Right? It's you should never get up, ever. Right? It's like always learning, always staying fit. I think it's something, talk about the guys leaving you just mentioned. I really try to remember what I learned in the military. Right? We often tend to forget what we just simply learned. Okay. We have professionals, I was an operator, for example. We had a comms guy, we had a close protection guy, or not close protection guy, all these different trades within the military, all working together. But I didn't try to know, all these different things. Someone told me how to do that. Right. And I always had someone to tell me, here's a box, and like work in it in terms of what to do in this situation. Then you leave the military and you think you could do all things yourself. I pay for advice all the time. I have a business coach. I have a real estate investment coach. And I have a fitness program sometimes. That's something that I should do a little bit more of, right? I had a personal trainer for a little bit. We were a good fit, and, my commitment level wasn't always there, but I know that from what I knew 10 years in the military of just listening to professionals do that. I think it's really important for guys to maintain that and not forget to maintain your contacts and to structure yourself, because structure and you like structure, even though you might not think that. You've been doing it for 10 years in the military, whatever it is. You like structure. Okay. So
yes, it's funny. Like, if my wife is going to be listening to this, she'll be like, you don't like structure. What are you talking about? But I crave it. Just a different kind of structure.
Sure.
The hardest thing for me when I left and I started teaching, that was that lack of, I guess, having a defined chain of command, which at the school I was at was actually better than most other schools. So that was hard for me, because if I had an issue, who do I go see? Right. Okay. Check. No problem. Like, it's a bit loosey goosey, but no worries. But then on the personal side, it was just me. So, I'm slowly building out my company to have a team.
Right.
On your end, like, how do you get that to the point where, you've obviously built a successful real estate? Is it an agency? Where are you at right now in that whole process where you're that building that empire? Are you
Right.
starting just like at the entry level where you've got like a few people, or are you starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, you're going to be like a behemoth and you're just going to like overwhelm the Ottawa area?
So what POE, actually, we talked about it earlier, really. Yes. POE, I did the course. That's a free thing for veterans to go do. You apply, and it's a great course. In that, the prof said that was there. He's like, build your business around military relocation. You're from Ottawa, D&D's here, you're a veteran, so on and so forth. I said, okay, cool, thanks. Little things like that you pick up along the way. So my first couple of years in real estate, I was in a team. So right now I work for Remax Hallmark. And then within that, there's either individual agents, so you can call yourself Tristan Pelletier Real Estate, or you can join a little bit of a branded team where it's Peltier Real Estate Team. In my case, I decided to call myself Selmar Real Estate Group, which is a whole different conversation in terms of why I named it like that. But we have 4 agents on my team, myself and 3 other agents plus an administrator. But in the first 2 years, I went under someone's wing. Like, I was in a team, right? So how it works, you learn the ropes, you learn the business. You can launch on your own straight out of after getting your license. And you get 100% your own commission, but you should really learn the business, or else you might choke and you might not want to do it. Most agents fail in the first 2-3 years. It's an expensive considering business, and people think it's a job, but it really isn't a job. You're launching a business from day one. Okay. You have to call people, and if you don't perform, you're not going to get any types of commissions or pays. Right. After that, I said, okay, I'm going to launch my own. I learned the ropes. I started calling my sphere of influence people I knew, and I had a really good momentum going. I did the year on my own. I liked it and I didn't like it. Again, going back to the military, I liked the team environment. I really did. Juggling everything by yourself, it's something you need to do and learn. But also, hey, how can I help other people with their dreams and goals? And how can I get together and build a team to service one client? I have 4 agents helping them out if they need to, versus me, myself. I was getting calls all the time and say, okay, Tristan, I need to be here, here, and here. Well, I can't be in 3 different spots, right? And HHCs, military relocations, is seasonal, right? So if I have 3 people coming HHCs at the same time in Ottawa, how am I supposed to be there for a week? They're there generally for a week. Now I have a full team of support staff, and I have agents helping me out as well to get those people in. Future iterations for my business, I'd like to keep growing the team. I like being a RE/MAX Hallmark for the time being. I don't really like calling it Tristan Peltier Real Estate, because I don't think it should be about me. It should be about what I give as a vision for a team, for my client, right? And we're just going to grow it. I'm just, this year is going to be a really good year for us. Last year we had an incredible year, and I just want to keep growing the team simply, right? Now it's about transitioning. Hey, how do I teach other agents how to build their business? So I joined a team in the first 2 years. Now they're in my team, and I want to build them up as well, right? And help the other people out. So that's kind of my vision so far. Real estate investing as a whole is something I'm very, very passionate about. I'm an investor personally. I've bought investment properties on my own. I've bought it with other people before. I grouped investments. I think it's a very, very powerful vehicle for anybody. And I think it's very accessible. The difficult part about real estate investing is having the discipline to save your own capital, right? You need money to invest. So some people like that, some people don't. There's plus and minuses everything, but it really worked out for me. I was disciplined, just like you have to be in a fitness program. Save your goals. Cut out all the other BS in your life that you're spending money on, and cut out all the noise as well. I was very good at doing that. And then I just saved money, and honestly, just let it ride and let it roll, right? Real estate, generally speaking, goes up in value. Okay.
Right.
So it works out for that. And also, I think that people are very intimidated by having tenants. Well, I've always had amazing tenants. I build relationships with them. I always have, keep them happy. They keep me happy. They're living somewhere. They want to just live their lives, right? You want to provide a good living space for them. It's not complicated. So if anyone's interested, give me a call. I could definitely help you out on that. But yeah, that's kind of my journey right now. I love relocation in terms of Ottawa relocation, in and out. I do military and RCMP and government services. That's a big bulk of my business. And I do a lot of what we're doing right now, Zoom meetings from a distance, because, they don't know the market. They don't know who I am, generally speaking. Often I get referrals, often I don't. I do online leads and Facebook groups and things like that. And I give them a lot of information. And other big part of my business is investing. I'm really passionate about investing as well. So I help people invest and give them solutions. Not only, hey, buy this. I look at your financial picture as well and say, hey, how can I get you investing in real estate and entry level investment, right? In Ottawa, it's getting $300 to $400K. It's very expensive now. In Montreal, where you are, very, very active market as well.
It's blowing up.
It's blowing up. So I'm telling people, I'm seeing a lot of people. How are they going to own a house? It's getting more difficult. You need discipline. Just like you need discipline to be fit, you need to be consistent every day in how you're spending your money in order to get into the game.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the investment side of things, because that's only something that even I would say it's only been the last 2 years
Mhm.
at most that my mindset has changed on investments. Because for me, investments. So case in point, I'm on pre-training,
Mhm.
2010, and I'm living in Montreal. I'm single. I've got an apartment. I have zero expenses. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. My bank account, all I'm doing is paying back my student loan debt, which even wasn't that much.
Mhm.
And so by the time I'm on tour, I'm projected to have quite a bit of cash. And I remember sitting down and I'm having breakfast in my neighborhood, and it's a pricey neighborhood now. It was much less pricier about 10 years ago. And my buddy, who, he was in the forces, and, as a police officer, he makes good money, he's single. He's like, dude, you should think about getting one of these like new investment properties that they're building in the area. I'm like, he's like, why not? We love the area. You're going to go to the bank. They're going to say, oh, wow, yeah, you've got a great job. No problem. We'll give you a mortgage. We'll give you a loan. And my thought process was, yeah, but I don't know. This might be a little bit, am I going to really rent? And it was that whole like, oh, I'm scared of a tenant for whatever
Right.
reason. I'm scared of having one person, and I won't be able to mitigate whatever the situation is. And so instead of doing that, I just, I passed on the opportunity, and I just put all my money in like RRSPs.
Right.
And I really regret having done that, because if I had a better plan, that money would be working for me a lot better. And I'm just curious, for a lot of people in the forces, like we make pretty good salaries,
Right.
and if we're getting relocated, especially with the young guys, I know my mindset when I left, it wasn't in that investment mode yet.
Mhm.
And even the guys are even a bit younger, like the privates and stuff like that, that are going over and making like 60K. um and I saw it, they go out and buy a Ford F-150.
Yep. Yep.
Are you able to have, like, is there, with the new generation of kind of guys that are coming in, guys and girls are coming in, is there more of a attitude towards investment that's a bit, I guess, clearer, where they have a better picture, like they realize the value in taking what they have in terms of salary and stuff like that, and actually making the
Right.
money work for them rather than just buying frivolous things?
Absolutely. So, the first thing I'll say is, remember the risk you're taking when you join the military. I don't care if you're an operator or you just pass BMQ. Like, you're expected to do things and give up, part of your health to protect your country and serve your country. Okay, that is the biggest risk you're going to take in your life. Okay, so if you're scared of investing some money, and if you lose your money, if you do lose your money, because everything we invest, you have to be, it's possible, you're still going to be alive. Okay, things are going to be okay. You go overseas, and it's things happen. We all know that, right? And people don't come out of that uh, it, in one piece in terms of their mental state, or even physically, things like that. And those people, it's tough to do that. So if you going to join the military and do anything like that, don't be scared of investing money. It doesn't tie to who you are as a person and the risk you've already taken. So anyone in the military listening, first responder, anything like that, don't be scared of that risk, first and foremost, because it doesn't logically make sense if you think it about like that. Okay, you're taking the biggest risk possible by joining the military and putting yourself forward. And then if you're a young person in the military, remember, if you're a government worker, and I say this as a joke, it's hard to get fired. Okay, if you join the military, it's really hard to get fired out of your job.
Yes,
Okay,
very, very.
and guess who knows that? Lenders. Lenders know that if you're in the military, you're a good lender. Hey, I'm a corporal. I'm making 60K a year, whatever it is, or whatever my salary. Lenders like you. Okay, so when I was in the military and I had a good guaranteed job, I was able to leverage that. Second thing about being good about the military is you can live very lean. We talked about that as well. My example, I lived in the shacks. My situation was different. It's coming back home to Ottawa. I lived in my parents' place at the first when I was about 20 years old, but I was paying $120 a month. Did it suck sometimes? Yes, but I did what it took to have my investment portfolio. I saved money, and I said I built up enough at that time. I said, okay, I'm going to buy my first investment property. Then after that, it was simple. I bought it before I left, just by purely saving cash. Okay. Second one after that, went to Afghanistan, came back, I think, I don't know, 50K, great. I was awesome. At that time, I thought it was tons of money. for the risk we took, it doesn't seem like a lot. But I say, I did 8 months of my life being on patrol, taking all the risk in the world. I'm going to make this money, that the little money that I do make, to put to work for me for the rest of my life and pay me. Okay. And you mentioned a Ford F-150. I remember being in the shacks when we got back. I bought myself a $5,000 car. It was a Mazda 6. Okay. And I bought myself another investment property. And I remember being beside a guy, and we're looking out in the parking lot in the drill hall in Petawawa, the parking lot there. And he had a brand new Dodge Challenger, 45K,
so nice.
50K. And it's beautiful. And
The
I was like,
beauties.
wow. And I jumped in it with him, and it was amazing. And I never want to downplay anything, but I said, look, like, we took the same risk here, right? And I'm going to have something that's going to pay me for the rest of my life, okay? And I'd rather that, for the risk I took, do that. And then simply my third place that I bought, the first one went up in value just by owning it, right? It was called a refinance. I refinanced that, took the equity out, bought my next place. I didn't put any down payment really on the next one. I just used the value of those properties and bought my next. And because I had a good salary still, SF operating, make a little bit of extra pay, things like that, they kept me going. It was my fourth place I bought that I actually lived in. The other ones were investments, right? So I got all my investments first, then I bought my own place. So that's kind of my journey when it does that. If someone's listening and just starting out, live lean, buy your investments first if you can, get that ball rolling, then go buy yourself something later on. If you're okay with that. Not people aren't okay with that sometimes. They want a place right away. I get it, but buy something, buy some real estate, do yourself a favor. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the train I'm on now. That's our, being married, looking at your family, your home now is like an incorporation, has been pretty powerful. What are where's our revenue stream? How many revenue streams do we have? And then what are our long-term goals? Because it's easy to fall into the trap, like, oh, you want to go on vacation this summer? Yeah. Okay. Well, is this part of the plan? So me and my wife are, we're getting better at it, and we're not pros, but we have half decent revenue now, which is great because, when you're starting out, initially we made the right decision. I had tons of cash from tour. My wife was just a natural saver. So when we went to get our first place, the bank's like, oh yeah, you have your down payment. Like you have not just a down payment, but we have our 20%.
Right.
And that was a goal we already had. We're like, yeah, we're going to have our 20% down. And I think, I guess when you're young, it's easy to just, fall into decisions that just seems like everybody else is making. It's like, oh, everybody else is buying a condo. Let's just buy a condo. And I think for us, we had enough knowledge to make sure that we had the actual cash. And then on top of that, we were looking long-term. And I think that's critically important when you start working to come up with a plan. So, for you, it seems like you're almost acting like an advisor for a lot of these individuals that are, going to buy properties and stuff like that. Is that something that you like naturally gravitate towards with these, young or, they don't have to be young investors in property, but is that a conversation that kind of comes up all the time? Like, hey, maybe we should be looking at something that could, end up as a vehicle that could benefit you long-term and, benefit not just you, but your entire family.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to military, you'll be happy when you leave the military. I had a 10-year career with my reserve time. Like that's considered short on Civi Street. When I say that, they're like, wow, it's a long time. But you have those people 25, 20, 30 years. If you did it, if you kept buying property, and when you leave the military, because you do not know how you're going to feel when you leave the military. It's not always easy. And anyone that left, your hard charger, whatever it is, and then this world comes out. You're going to be very happy that you bought real estate or you invested your money, because that's going to be a nice cushion for whatever transition you're going to go into. Entrepreneurship, it's tough your first year, right? It's always going to be tough. Plus the fact that you're leaving a system like the military, you got to go deal with that first and foremost. And then you have to deal with financial stuff, stress. And I think a lot of people are just stressed out when they leave the military, right? And they try to find a reason. So that helped me a lot when I had that cushion and I was making income on the background, while I sleep. So, I have a lot of clients that are younger than me, and I have a lot of people's parents. They said, Tristan, this is too much risk, and here, whatever it is. I just show them my route, and I have like guys that are 24, bought 4 properties already since they're 19 years old, and their parents are now looking at me going, Tristan, like, we want in now, right? Because the older generation, sometimes they don't like that kind of risk. They had a different time than us, whatever it is, and I can't predict the future, but their son's doing really well. Trust me, he's doing really well for himself. So yeah, I'm not able to advise on people's financial situation. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a vehicle for real estate investing. I'm really passionate about it. And one of the basic things, Dave, what I tell people all the time is say, look, when grandma and grandpa die one day, what is the one thing, the biggest asset a lot of the families look at? It's their primary house they've owned for 50 years, okay? I do estate sales sometimes as well. The whole family's involved, and sometimes it's the only thing that has value left. That's the only payout your family's going to get is one house. If I planted, seeds throughout a span of 50 years and owned 50 of those houses, for example, like you're leaving behind a lot to your family. And, you should spend your own money as well. I'm a big believer as that, save, they save, and, you pass away, you never use it. But, people don't realize that. Secondly, or third is Canada and Ottawa as a whole is growing very quickly, right? There's a lot of people coming to Canada, and real estate population growth isn't something, generally speaking, that's going to slow down. Markets go up and down, right? Absolutely. 2008, the US definitely felt that, but they bounce back, generally speaking, right? It's an old business. Real estate's the oldest business. Landlords comes from the UK, right? They used to be lords of areas, and then they used to lease their land out. So I'm a big believer in it. I could be biased. I get it. Other people could come on your show and say, hey, do stocks, whatever it is. Yes, but get involved with something. It's going to ease your transition, and you're going to be very happy with that decision later on in life. I am happy right now for sure.
Of course. Just want to ask you one question when it comes to getting in the market, because I think some people are reticent because they're like, oh, it's not the right time. What do you say to somebody who's like, man, I want to time the market. I think the market's too hot right now. I want to get a good deal.
It is a valid concern of people, right? And I always try to think of Warren Buffett's old saying is, be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. Right now in Ottawa, a lot of people need a house, and you're competing against a market of pure need, right? And it's not investors you're competing against. It's people wanting to just live somewhere, right? And it's hard for people to pay 50, 60, 70K over asking when they're buying an investment. Last year, I bought an investment. I liked the lot. I liked the price. I paid 55 over asking. I'm not the only one. I think you have to work with a realtor in your area that knows investing. I'm a true believer of doing things before selling a product. So a lot of people say, hey, I'll help you invest into something. They've never invested in themselves ever. It's like you saying training programs, like you know them, but you do them yourself as well. You know the pain, you've been injured and stuff like that, so you can relate. So working with that is super important. Getting into the game, saving money is a very, very simple and needed discipline that everyone has to do when they invest money. Real estate, like I said earlier, it's a big capital. So to answer your question really is it going to end this ride in Ottawa? And if you don't get in, my clients last year were paying well over asking as well. Now I'm calling them going, hey, you've made some money on your property this year. So when does it end? I don't know. If I could tell you, I'd be very wealthy, so.
Yeah, of course.
So it's my advice is make a plan. I think a good realtor or any type of investment would be an overall plan and where to look. Ottawa's hot, but there's also little pockets around Ottawa, right? It's like Toronto. Toronto is really hot. Then all these little pockets, Oshawa, away from Toronto, because it's getting too expensive, start going up in value. It's kind of like a drop on water, and that wave that goes out of the center core of a city. And like, hey, can I spot something? Right now I'm liking, for example, I'm liking Arnprior. A same product in Canada, which is 30 minutes away, is selling for 150K over what they're doing in Arnprior. So I'm speculating. I'm saying, is that a good spot right now? Right? Mm-hmm. You got to look at demographics. You got to look at some economics in the area. Where's the job placement? Inner city is really good because there's always jobs there. Government's good to go, right? So we'll see. Things change. Government, for example, Ottawa, you got to look at which is the federal government in place. Liberal government usually hires a lot of people, right? And conservatives tend to do a little bit more cutbacks. So that does affect Ottawa's market. Ottawa just too cheap for too long, right? And you look at it, and
Montreal too.
Exactly, just too cheap for too long, and you kind of get desensitized to that. It's like, oh, $350 for a townhouse, that sounds expensive. Now it's a deal, right? Because it's, they're all selling for $450, $400, $450 now. It's a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean, like just in Montreal. I mean, like I grew up here, so almost 40 years of my life. I've never seen economic boom like we have right now. Like I wasn't, my parents' generation saw everything get built. The highways and like the city just exploded in like the 60s, and then we had all the problem with separation, and then that just crushed investment.
Right.
And housing prices were artificially low, and we didn't realize it. And we got in the market just under 10 years ago.
Right.
And, we're buying, if comparatively speaking, we're basically right next to downtown in just a borough that's just adjacent to it. There's a subway station right next to where we live. I was able to get downtown in like 10 minutes. I could see the city skyline from my balcony, and we didn't even pay $250. You know what I mean? Like for a condo. And, if you put that in like Toronto comparison, like I couldn't even imagine how much that would be worth in Toronto. But, those condos are now getting close to, the 350, 400 level range. And in only 10 years, and like even our place, it's gone up quite a bit since we bought 3 years ago our house. And that's because people are starting to actually move here and like buy real estate. So it's cool to see, because like you said, like at the end of the day, real estate's like one of those oldest businesses. You own land, odds are you're probably going to make a return on it, so long as there's not like a massive catastrophe or it's like flooded out like some of the properties here in Montreal because we're an island. But, barring that, you're doing pretty good. So I want to shift gears a little bit. You mentioned networking before, and how important that is to kind of branch out and make sure that you have a half decent network, because that'll help obviously too in just your business, but anybody that's getting out, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. What are some of the things that you found useful when you were getting out of the forces?
So, the first thing you do in sales, any type of sales, is really, who do I know? Right. And you map that out. You're like, who do I really know that's going to support my business? And you just simply start by saying, hey, I do this. I'm a realtor, or, I'm a fitness coach. And like, I want to tell you about that, basically, and you tell your services, things like that. But outside of that, there's tons of programs for veterans to get out. One is a Princess Operation Entrepreneur, like we mentioned earlier. Went there, the prof gave me a small idea, and I built my business off that. And, I had to update them. I haven't talked to them a little bit. But after that, Treble Victor, 3V. I'm a huge believer in 3V. These are people getting together. They're experiencing the same things as you, as in getting out of the military. And all, if not, most, if not all members want to see you succeed, because, we're veterans. We need to get together and do that. So Treble Victor is huge. I know you're a member in Montreal. I'm a member in Ottawa. That is really good for that. I think you have a few members here. Touch all those networks, because you want to group up with people that are like-minded, like you, and they're going to support your network as well, right? So I got out. I called everybody I knew in the military. I said, who do you know that's buying real estate? Who do you know I can, touch with? And they know a lot of people, right? Real estate, it's oh yeah, so-and-so is getting posted to Ottawa. I'll give them your number. Just like that, boom. Obviously, you need to do a good job. You can't take that for granted either. But in my opinion, real estate's a very good transitional job when it comes to leaving the military, right? We know real estate. The government pays for a lot of your realtor fees when you get posted out, right? So that's good, a government-related business. In Ottawa, people have to move every 4 years roughly, because officers come in and do their thing in D&D and then get posted out. So how can I, get that business? Well, I communicate that to as many people as possible, right? Marketing is a challenge, getting out there. There's a lot of competition too in my business, for sure. But competition's everywhere. You want to be successful anywhere in life. You can't look at anywhere and say, if there's competition, I don't want to compete. Well, you're not going to get it. You want to get you want to get in the special forces or anything like that, you got to compete. You're competing hard, right? And you make it, sometimes you don't. It is what it is. But it's real estate's a great business for that. And I think 3V is a fantastic place to start when you want to get out of the military and find out where to go next.
Hands down. Yeah, hands down. Because this here, what we're doing right now is honestly partly due to Trouble Victor, because I get, yourself, Dave Sutcliffe, who was on before. I've had, numerous guests that are in that network because I've just reached out. Hey, who's interested in doing a podcast episode? And I've had just, cold leads from that. But on top of that, it's like you said, when you have, a referral based business, there's nothing better than having the military network look out for you and be like, hey, like everybody knows somebody that's either buying or selling a house at some point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in my case too, it's the same deal. I know guys, but I don't even have to like actually know them or have a face to face with them. Mm-hmm. 1-2 degree separation. There's guys going on course, of course. There's guys that are either out of the military and they're struggling with back pain or whatever like that, and that's that's my jam. That's what I work with most of the time. And it just comes down to how good is your network, especially before you leave the forces. And that's where I stumbled a little bit, and that's where I'm catching up. Is I didn't value it as much as I should have. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know any of these things existed. And it was only a few years ago that I started realizing, well, I think I'm going to get into business. I probably should step up my networking game so that I'm actually positioned well, so that I don't have to, just do cold leads and cold calls for however long.
Right.
People come to me, they're warm. They're like, oh, I know Dave. Yeah. It's my buddy. Yeah. He told me to come give you a call. And that's literally, the past, few months, that's what it is. It's just people coming to me because they know through a friend that this is what I do. So, like in your case, I imagine, just in that network, the military network, it must be beneficial, obviously, to have a good reputation, but also to just have people that are clients of yours that do pretty much all the work when it comes to referrals. So how do you kind of set that up so that you have a winning strategy, so that you don't let leads just fall by the wayside, and that you actually are able to cultivate them? Because I think a lot of well, maybe I'm just projecting. Being a military member, being a business, it's not always easy to chase down a lead, because it feels like we're being that, like, I guess that sleazy salesman type, and we're self-promoting, because self-promotion is something that's really hard for us to kind of get our heads around, because we're not allowed to do it, right? It's
right.
Very much frowned upon when we're in. So how do you get yourself around that? How do you make sure that I'm not self-promoting, but I'm looking out for, you, in the sense that you're the client. I'm going to do a better job than the other people, or at least I'm the one for you for this job. How do you get yourself around that? How do you get over that mental hurdle?
I couldn't agree more, Dave, than when you said, self-promotions was a little bit hard for me at first, coming from the background, you're supposed to be humble, professional, and not really be flashy. You didn't join the military to be about you and look at me kind of thing. And I am in that industry, but remember, you did your job for the country, right? You did your part. And then you leave the military, you have to get out there. You have to get outside of your own head. And me, I try to come from an angle of information, not what can I give, not what can I receive from someone, what can I give you as value, right? So I call my clients all the time. I say, look, hey, in your neighborhood, something sold for this much. It's an asset that you own. Should you not know about it every few months? Great. Yeah. Tell me about it. Call them. And after I call them and remind them of what I do, right? In sales, they're called touches, right? Emails, doing things like this, podcasts, calling your clients, remind them that you're in the business. When someone wants to buy a house, everyone knows it. You work with someone, oh, I'm looking to buy a house. Oh yeah, great. All it takes for me is to say, oh yeah, Tristan, yeah, he was my realtor 5 years ago. People move every 5 years. I hate selling something to someone and they don't hear from me for 3 years, 4 years. The client's not going to call you, right? They're not going to call you. It's not something that comes up every day. So you need to stay informed. So touches, emails, Facebook, posting, things like this. How do I stay top of mind of my clients without being annoying, right? Mm-hmm. Some realtors will call you 100 times until you pick up the phone. I'm not like that. Does it work? Yes, it does. It does work. Let's be clear. It does work. People, you break down people, eventually they'll pick up the phone.
It's like picking up. It's like when I picked up my wife. I just relentless, and eventually she caved, and now we have 2 kids.
Yeah, exactly. But it's getting outside of your own head. It's shifting your mindset a little bit. The business world, the thing that I had a hard time adjusting was a lot of people I'm working with are looking out for themselves, right? I'll have people, you know, I've had deals where I got screwed on for sure. Absolutely. And I learned from that. And I was like, wow, that person just lied to my face. That person tried to take advantage of me. And you're not used to that in the military. If you tell me something, hey, we got to get this done because of these reasons, generally speaking, I'm just going to believe you. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, why is Dave going to tell me this? What was he want out of this? Right. I mean, it does happen. We all get it. But business world, you got to be careful. Right. And keeping in touch with that network and trying to trust that military network, not everybody blindly, trust, but verify, right? Always, is important. But generally speaking, when I meet guys like yourself, when I meet guys like, Mike George is a good friend of mine. We talk all the time about business. He left around the same time as me, and we try to support each other. And I just saw that you did a podcast with him. Like, hey, I'm going to do this too, right? Warrior Venture Canada, those guys, I know those guys. Those are good guys. I'm trying to support them as much as possible. And it's really, supporting each other. But also, I will say, don't take advantage of the fact that you're getting a referral. Do an extremely good job with that referral, right? Just because Tristan's a veteran and, we're military buddies, let's support each other. Do the great job for that person, service that client, right? And go above and beyond. That's a very, very basic business thing that's easy to do. Being on time, calling people when you say you're going to call them, it is what it is. I think the biggest part of what people like about me is I like to take control and I like to plan. I'm a planner, and I learned that from the military often. Soft planning. It's from the bottom up often. So you get involved with the planning and hey, how do I get this done, right? And where am I going? What's my roadmap of where I'm going? I want to buy a house, Tristan. I have no idea what I'm doing. Great. Let me look at this, and this, and I'll make a plan for you, and I'm going to get you to your goal, right? And that's kind of like a big part of my business is the planning aspect and servicing, basically.
Right. I think the big takeaway from that is don't take your leads for granted. And
never.
Just because you come from the same background and you think, oh, this is going to be a lock, they're coming in nice and warm. If you don't do if you don't service them properly, like if you don't come with your A game, it's business is still business, man. They don't have to buy from you just because you're a veteran. Like it's something that you definitely need to keep in mind when going to the plate. Is that you're now the guy and they expect you to be the guy. Don't drop the ball.
Absolutely. And, hey, you give me a referral and that guy never called me back. Well, you look bad and that guy looks bad too, right? And it's just not bueno, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Good.
Just stay in touch with that.
So tell me, man, what are you listening to? What are you reading right now? Because you seem like a pretty I shouldn't say esoteric, but cerebral type guy. What keeps you? I guess what gives you the edge? What are you consuming so that you always keep that gray matter stimulated to be a cut above the rest?
I'm into a lot of real estate investing books. So like Gary Keller is, the company Keller Williams from the real estate company Keller Williams. He's the Keller part, Gary Keller. I really like his stuff a lot. Like it's really again like a roadmap. So I'm rereading Millionaire Real Estate Agent: How to Build a Team in Real Estate, because I read it a long time ago. So I'm rereading that currently because I'm building my team. So I'm just touching those things. Real Estate Investor as well. So another one he wrote. I love that one. If you're interested, I was reading that in Afghanistan. I literally remember being out in the desert and reading this book. I think I still have it. And just
nerd.
Just reading this book, whatever it is on my downtime. So it's still messy still. I'm pretty sure I have it. That's what I'm doing right now. I just finished my broker course. I've been studying for the last couple months. It's another license in real estate. It's the highest license you can get. I believe it's called your broker. So I just passed that test. So a lot of my reading's been that. One thing I like to start reading, brushing up, but more is, I don't do too much stock market stuff. I'm a real estate guy, but it's interesting times. The stock market's accessible. I do know a lot of guys at HTC that like to invest in stock because they're anywhere in the world and you can put in an order anywhere in the world, right? So that's more access. So that's something I think I'll be reading in the future. And again, big goal this year is get back on track with my fitness goals, right? That's something that I let go of. And if anyone's listening, don't forget what the military taught you about fitness. It's super important. You look at all the CEOs in the world, right? They're fit guys. They're not big guys usually. You know, there's a reason why they're doing it.
Yeah, they're not crushing like tasty cakes all day and getting lazy. They're always on. So they need to. Their body needs to. It's a machine, right? If you're putting garbage into the machine, like it's not going to function at its optimal state.
That's right. And it's basics, right? It's just basics.
It's the basics. Cool. Okay. So, hey, where can people get a hold of you? Like, where's the best? Is the Facebooks? Is it the Instagrams, Snapchat? Where are you primarily focused right now so people can find you?
So my team is called Selmar Group, and that is facebook.com/Selmar Real Estate, SELMAR Real Estate. You can hit us up there. We do a lot of posting about some real estate stuff. You can contact me directly at Tristan, TRISTAN, at selmargroup.com. You can check out our website, selmargroup.com. It's currently being updated a little bit and tweaking that. And then we also have Instagram, it's Selmar Real Estate. And that's about it for us for now. You know, real estate's about images mostly. We don't do too much Twitter stuff. But yeah, that's where you can reach me. If you have any questions at all about real estate investing 101, I do Ottawa, or you're looking to get into the game, or you're looking to buy or sell in Ottawa, you can call me, email me, 613-816-8827. Direct number. I give it out.
Nice. Loving that. Wicked. I hope you get like tons of texts. They just blow up your phone, man. That'd be freaking
Yeah. Well, my number is everywhere. I give it out. All right. It's not
Keep it clean, people. Keep it clean. Come on. The guy's a businessman. Seriously. All right. He's going to be a dad.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, dude. That's awesome. So we'll put all that in the show notes so that people, if they're not quick on the draw, they can find it on the show notes page. Mm-hmm. And lastly, man, last question of the day: what makes it hard to kill?
My willingness to push forward, grow, learn, and simply, no matter what people tell me or do or say, I believe in myself, and I'll keep going forward like that. And I'm hard to kill because you can't kill me.
Nice. Love it, man. Yeah. Tristan, it's been a real pleasure having you on, man. Thanks for reaching out. And next time I'm in Ottawa, we definitely should go grab a brew, whether it's at the 3V beer call or just in the area. I'm down quite a bit. So awesome having you on, man. All the best. Good luck with the business, and stay in touch, buddy.
Dave, thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Wicked.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can find out more about training, nutrition, and mindset at davemorrow.net. Be sure to like us on Facebook and Instagram at DaveMorrowPT. And don't forget, strong people are hard to kill.